mission, I'm known for getting money and standing on business. Chasing. We started with nothing in humble beginnings. They wanna fuck with me now cause I'm winning. Chasing this chicken cause I'm on a mission. I'm known for getting money and standing on business. Chasing this chicken, I ran up a ticket. Chasing this chicken, I ran up a ticket. Chasing this chicken, I ran up a ticket. Keep that shit coming, they know how we living. Come from the struggle, got lost in the hustle. Straight out the mud, know I compliment couples. Chasing big bills just to keep this shit subtle. You ain't on my team if you wasn't in the huddle. Chasing this chicken, I ran up a ticket. Chasing this chicken, I ran up a ticket. Chasing this chicken, I ran up a ticket. Keep that shit coming, they know that I'm with it. I fit the description, I'm the definition. I'm what they prescribe like she seen a physician. She wanna ride cause she seen how we get it. Big old booty, she my passenger princess. She like to argue, she don't like to listen. She bougie and toxic, she fine and she picky. Pretty yes and ditty, she get recognition. Matching nails and toes, man, she always French tip 'em. Parking lot pimping when we in the city. Don't ask her about twine, she twerk on the engine. She eat the dick in the car cause it's tennis. She pay me attention like she get commission. Pimpin' CEO, so I give her the business. She ride on the dick like she doing some fitness. She make the dick disappear like she magician. She like to swallow, man, she love when I finish. Having motion, man, you know I got plenty. Bitches choosing cause they know that I'm winning. See some thousands, now I'm after some millions. So all my houses come with chandelier ceilings. Pillow talking, man, that shit just ain't in me. Keep it pimpin', I can't do no pretending. Jealous hearted, man, you know I ain't with it. Cupping hoes, I can't do no commit. No, we started with nothing in humble beginnings. They wanna fuck with me now cause I'm winning. Chasing this chicken cause I'm on a mission. I'm known for getting money and standing on business. Chasing this chicken, I ran up a ticket. Chasing this chicken, I ran up a ticket. Chasing this chicken, I ran up a ticket. Keep that shit coming, they know how we living. Come from the struggle, got lost in the hustle. Straight out the mud, know I compliment couples. Chasing big bills just to keep this shit subtle. You ain't on my team if you wasn't in the huddle. Chasing this chicken, I ran up a ticket. Chasing this chicken, I ran up a ticket. Chasing this chicken, I ran up a ticket. Keep that shit coming.
Yeah, man. What we doing tonight, chat? What we doing tonight, chat? We locked away, man.
Wow. Lucas stall out them pint bottles out Granny crib. I poured so much I ain't wanna live. Told money then, shit we in the wind. I was in the hood when I clipped the bin. Since a young nigga I been ready. Went glass house on every Chevy. In this game I tried plenty settings. It's all or nothing. How niggas pay and got sucker niggas keep suckers with them. One of the reasons I ain't fucking with them. Trish Tech and some more than her. Guess she couldn't even afford a winner. I'm open late, don't need a scale, and it's always open. Sneak wishing well, I double down, slick shit to spell. Shawty know I don't kiss and tell. I'm faded, 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 faded. I'm faded, 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 faded. Hell, I'm faded, 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 faded. I'm faded, 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 faded. I'm a saint, but I sin. I checked in the game, and when I left, she loving me again. I let her cry out the bins, and they say time heal. Mine still felt like it was yesterday. I was moving fast, probably too fast to even catch the play. Spent the night, she pack a bag, right to me, just getting gas. Coming back, I want it bad. I'ma touch it first. Eat it last, it's temporary. Holly damn emotion said it's temporary. My pain deeper than the ocean. Temporary feelings mixed with temporary pleasures. All these temporary moments and these temporary treasures. Temporary circumstances to temporary measures. Temporary friends and even temporary schedules. Temporary smiles and temporary goals. Temporary women sliding on temporary poles. Temporary comments and temporary trolls. I just pray that God bless me. Ain't no temporary souls. I'm a saint, but I sin. I checked in the game, and when I left, she loving me again. I let her cry out the bins, and they say time heal. Mine still felt like it was yesterday. I was moving fast, probably too fast to even catch the play. Spent the night, she pack a bag, right to me, just getting gas. Coming back, I want it bad. I'ma touch it first. Eat it last, it's temporary. Holly damn emotion said it's temporary. My pain deeper than the ocean.
What we doing, chat? We locked in. Tony, you said that first song, man. Nah, that's my partner, Rose Gold Rick. See, that song ain't even out yet, man. That song ain't even out yet, Tony. I'm just gonna keep it all the way honest with y'all, man. That song ain't even out yet. What's going on with my camera, big dog? Hold on, chat. Hold on, chat. Get this shit together, man. Yeah, but that song ain't even out yet, Tony. You know, I'm the only one with that right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm the only one. I'm supposed to be putting the little snippets out there so when it get ready to drop, you know, it take off, man. But I'm the only one with that. You know what I'm saying? That's exclusive. You can't get it nowhere else but on the intro right here. That's how we doing this shit, man. Are y'all locked or what, chat? We got a lot to cover tonight. A few long forms, man. We got a lot to cover tonight. Hold on. Where is my shit at, though? Where is it at, man? Y'all know what time it is.
Welcome to the greatest damn show on YouTube.
That's what I'm talking about.
Welcome to the greatest damn show on YouTube.
Oh, man. Double tap the screen, shut it live out. What we doing tonight, chat? Double tap the screen, shut it live out. What we doing tonight, chat? Hey, say, we got a lot to cover tonight, man. We definitely got a lot to cover tonight, chat. I'm trying to see, get to where I need to get, man. They say Trump takes on the tariff rulings and Clavicular debates Piers Morgan, man. And we got Westmore doing a sit down. Like I said, we got a few long forms to cover, man. I really didn't put any clips together tonight. We was going to get straight into it because it's really all long forms, man. Double tap the screen, share the live out, chat. We are 25 subscribers away from the next sub goal. I guess I pissed a few of y'all off because I lost like 15 subscribers, man. What the hell is going on, man? Y'all mad? Mad or what, man? It is what it is. Double tap the screen, shut the live out, chat. Let's get in the algorithm, man. I hope everybody's having a great day, great evening, great night, man. I know it's Friday. It's the damn weekend, baby. What we doing, man?
Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. I'd like to thank and congratulate Justices Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh for their strength and wisdom and love of our country, which is right now very proud of those justices. When you read the dissenting opinions, there's no way that anyone can argue against them. There's no way. Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic. They're so happy. And they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long. That I can assure you. The Democrats on the court are thrilled, but they will automatically vote no. They're an automatic no, just like in Congress. They're an automatic no. They're against anything that makes America strong, healthy, and great again. They also are a frankly disgrace to our nation, those justices. They're an automatic no, no matter how good a case you have. It's a no. You can't knock their loyalty. It's one thing you can do with some of our people. Others think they're being politically correct, which has happened before far too often with certain members of this court to appeal to. But again, those three people, such respect. I've had a lot of respect.
Let's skip through this, man.
Great respect. But other alternatives will now be used to replace the ones that the court incorrectly rejected.
Here we go.
We have alternatives. Great alternatives. Could be more money. We'll take in more money.
So the alternative he's talking about that they're floating is a 10% executive order, executive order where he could put a 10% tariff on every nation. Blanket tariffs for all, 10% on everything.
Will be a lot stronger for it. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. We'll continue to do so. To show you how ridiculous the opinion is, however, the court said that I'm not allowed to charge even $1. I can't charge $1. Can't charge $1. I would have used 1 penny, but we don't make the
What it
pennies
do,
anymore.
Ronnie?
We
What it
save
do,
money.
XX?
Can't charge $1 to any country under IEPA. Not $1. I assume to protect other countries. This must have been done to protect those other countries. Certainly not the United States of America. which they should be interested in protecting. That's what they're supposed to be protecting. But I am allowed to cut off any and all trade or business with that same country. In other words, I can destroy the trade. I can destroy the country.
Shit.
I'm even allowed to impose a foreign country destroying embargo. I can embargo. I can do anything I want, but I can't charge $1. Because that's not what it says. And that's not the way it even reads. I can do anything I want to do to them, but I can't charge any money. So I'm allowed to destroy the country, but I can't charge them.
Shit, bro. Trump doesn't give a bruh. What's up, Carpe Diem? What's up, Fluffy Nugs? Rob Curtis, what it do, man? Y'all double tap the screen on your way in, man. Are y'all hearing what Trump's saying, bruh? He said, I can do what I want to do, man. Embargo. I can destroy the country as long as I don't charge $1, man. Listen, man. I told y'all, bruh. Trump not rap too tight, bruh. Trump, hey, motherfuckers better quit playing with Trump, man. I understand that Congress got to do something, man. But listen, motherfuckers better quit playing with Trump, bro. Like, listen to this dude, bro.
Which they should be interested in protecting. That's what they're supposed to be protecting. But I am allowed to cut off any and all trade or business with that same country. In other words, I can destroy the trade. I can destroy the country. I'm even allowed to impose a foreign country destroying embargo. I can embargo. I can do anything I want, but I can't charge $1. Because that's not what it says. And that's not the way...
So how do y'all feel about that, chat? Long as Trump's not, he can do anything he want with that, but long as he doesn't charge for it, man. Long as he's not charging for it. That's crazy.
It even reads, I can do anything I want to do to them, but I can't charge any money. So I'm allowed to destroy the country, but I can't charge them a little fee. I could give them a little two-cent fee, but I cannot charge under any circumstances. I cannot charge them anything. Think of that. How ridiculous is that? I'm allowed to embargo them. I'm allowed to tell them you can't do business in the United States anymore. We want you out of here. But if I want to charge them $10, I can't do that. It's incorrect. Their decision's incorrect. But it doesn't matter because we have very powerful alternatives that have been approved by this decision. You know, they've been approved by the decision for those that thought they had us. And they're saying that...
I'm telling y'all, chat, it's the AI, man. The AI. Listen, soon as they struck down the tariffs, man, they already got this 19 whatever executive order he's finna get ready to sign on the basis of some previous shit where he's gonna put a 10% blanket tariff on everything, man. These folks is wild, bro.
I have the absolute right to license, but not the right to charge a license fee. So think of that. I have the right to license. It's a very powerful word. In many ways, license is more powerful than tariffs. In fact, I was thinking about using it. But they came up with the idea that I can license, just like the people that were opposing me told them to do, but not the right to charge a license fee. Think of that. Who ever heard of such a thing? What license has ever been issued without the right to charge a fee? You get a license, you charge a fee. It's automatic, but not with this court. But now the court has given me the unquestioned right to ban all sorts of things from coming into our country, to destroy foreign countries. But a much more powerful right than many people ever thought we even had, but not the right to charge a fee. How crazy is that? Our country is the hottest country anywhere in the world right now. And it was a dead country 1.5 years ago.
So, man, listen. Trump's alluding to fucking over some countries because he can't get money anymore, man. I'm just being honest with y'all, man. If we're listening to what he's saying, man, Trump sounding like he's saying, look, man, I'll F over your country, destroy it, embargo it, man, and make sure it's done, finito, will never arise again because I can't charge y'all, man. It is what it is, man. Damn, bro. Trump is unhinged.
Under an incompetent president. But now I'm going to go in a different direction. Probably the direction that I should have gone the first time, but I read the language. I'm very good at reading language, and it read our way 100%. But Now I'll go the way I could have gone originally, which is even stronger than our original choice. As
What it do, OG?
Kavanaugh, whose stock has gone so up, you have to see. I'm so proud of him. Wrote in his dissent, although I firmly disagree with the court's holding today, the decision might not substantially constrain a president's ability to order tariffs going forward. So, think of that. The decision might not substantially constrain. And it doesn't, he's right. In fact, I can charge much more than I was charging. So I'm going to just start. Although I firmly disagree with the court's holding today, the decision might not substantially constrain a president's ability to order tariffs going forward. That's because numerous other federal statutes, which is so true, authorize the president to impose tariffs and might justify most, if not all, of the tariffs issued in this case. Even more tariffs, actually. Those statutes include, think of that, those statutes include, for example, the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, Section 232. All of these things I know so well. The Trade Act of 1974, Sections 122, 201, 301, and the Tariff Act of 1930, Section 338, all clear, but it's of the tariffs issued in this case. Even more tariffs, actually. Those statutes include, think of that, those statutes include, for example, the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, Section 232. All of these things I know so well. The Trade Act of 1974, Sections 122, 201, 301, and the Tariff Act of 1930, Section 338, all clear. But it's a little bit longer process. I thought I'd make things simple, but they didn't let us do that. I would like to thank Justice Kavanaugh for frankly, his genius and his great ability. Very proud of that appointment. In actuality, while I am sure that they did not mean to do so, the Supreme Court's decision today made a president's ability to both regulate trade and impose tariffs more powerful and more crystal clear rather than less. I don't think they meant that. I'm sure they didn't. It's terrible. And to think that the Democrats who oppose this only because they want to go the opposite way, they'd like to pack the court. They want to put on 21 people. They want to pack the court, pack the Supreme Court. Maybe they should do it. Maybe they would be better off.
Didn't Trump just... Oh my gosh, Chad. Listen. Did we not just see Trump stack the Supreme Court the first time and overturn Roe v. Wade? Didn't he say, I stacked the Supreme Court. We overturned Roe v. Wade. We got it back to the states. And now he's talking about the damn stacking the Supreme Court. Is kind of crazy, man. It's the pot calling the kettle black.
They want to pack the court. They want to do anything to hurt our country. There will no longer be any doubt, and the income coming in and the protection of our company.
Oh my God, Chad. Oh my God, I hate this so bad, bro. I hate this so bad, Chad. Oh man, give me 1 second, Chad. We might have to come right back live. Oh my God, bro. This shit is about to piss me off, dude. Give me 1 second, chat, man. Hopefully this shit works, bro. God.
I can license, I just can't charge them. It's ridiculous, but it's okay because we have other ways, numerous other ways. The ability to block, embargo, restrict, license, or impose any other condition on a foreign country's ability to conduct trade with the United States under IEPA has been fully confirmed by this decision. So now there's no doubt, because, you know, there were a lot of questions about tariffs because no president was smart enough to use them to protect our country from those countries and businesses that were ripping us off. You took a look at the deficits that we had with some of these countries. It was disgraceful what they got away with for many, many decades. But now we know, because this decision affirms all those things that some people weren't sure about. In order to protect, and it says so, in order to protect our country, a president can actually charge more tariffs than I was charging in the past period of a year under the various tariff authorities. So we can use other of the statutes, other of the tariff authorities, which have also been confirmed and are fully allowed.
All right, Chad, am I back? Press 1 if I'm back, man. Press 1, 2, 3 if I'm back. Let's get back in the algorithm, man. My bad, Chad. I don't know, man. That shit's crazy. It's crazy, Chad. I got to get some shit together. But look, man, we back.
Therefore, effective immediately, all national security tariffs under Section 232 and existing Section 301 tariffs, they're existing, they're there, remain in place, fully in place, and in full force and effect. Today I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122, over and above our normal tariffs already being charged. And we're also initiating several Section 301 and other investigations to protect our country from unfair trading practices of other countries and companies. Thank you for your attention to this matter, and I say quite simply,
yeah, they're running this shit through the AI chat. They're gonna have a path forward every single time. They're gonna have a path forward, and it's looking like the Democrats are gonna have to counteract it or figure out what's going on their end, because Trump he can't just put 100% tariffs on anybody anymore and do all of that. But what he can do is put a 10% blanket tariff on everybody, or he can embargo people and say you can't do trade in here. So at the end of the day, if something has to give, Trump wants either money or he wants some power, man. Right now they took away the money, so he's about to go for the power, man.
A long time. Make America great again. And interestingly, we've already made it great, so I don't have to use that, but I don't think we'll ever give up on MAGA. MAGA is always going to be with us. If you have a few questions, you can let us know. But just to end, so we're going forward, we will be able to take in more money, and there'll no longer be doubt, because there was always doubt. I know the people that brought the lawsuit, and they're sleazebags, major sleazebags, but I know them, and they're foreign country centric.
So now Trump's talking about limited strikes on Iran, and Congress hasn't approved this shit. So with him doing limited strikes on Iran, maybe it turns into a full-fledged war, maybe it doesn't. But right now he's saying he's considering strikes on Iran for this weekend.
Sending things into our country, and the people representing them knew full well, but they were sending things into our country, and they were beneficial to other countries. But
so Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna has pushed it forward where Congress can go ahead and vote on whether we're gonna get into this full-fledged war with Iran or not. So I think that vote is supposed to come next week as well. They're trying to, force it through, make it hurry up and go before Trump gets to, not letting shit go.
Very bad for us, and I stopped it, and we'll just keep it going. So we have a totally firm decision now, and I don't think the court meant it, because the court doesn't show great spirit toward our country, in my opinion. A lot of bad decisions, but there are usually ways around it. This is something we could have done, as Justice Kavanaugh said, we could have done this originally, but we're doing it now, and the numbers could be far greater than the hundreds of billions we've already taken in. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, I'm very curious.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Justice Thomas Alito, as you know,
he let him get halfway through his sentence, bro. He let him get it. Hey, Mr. President, so I was gonna. Hey, I didn't call you. Her. Shit.
Justices Do you think that you'll get to appoint 2 more justices later this term with similar ideologies? And what type of vetting process will they go through to ensure they uphold?
I don't know, but they're great justices. That's all I can say. And I hope they're going to be around a long time. I hope they're going to stay healthy. They're great people. They're great. And Justice Alito, too, to add to the group. These are great men.
Right.
With a great love of our country and a great understanding of the law.
Congress to take additional action on tariffs now?
I don't need to. It's already been approved. I mean, I would ask Congress and probably get it. When people look at the real numbers, and you look at hundreds of billions of dollars that have come into our country. Yesterday I was at a steel plant, as you know, and went to great place, great plant, great wonderful people. And they were telling me, I said to them, you were there, a lot of the press in this room. Of course, I don't think this plane's big enough to take the press.
All right, Chad, y'all get to the poll. Be sure to answer the poll. Is Trump crazy? Press 1 in the chat if you think Trump is crazy. Press 2 if you do not think Trump is crazy. Double tap the screen, shut a live out, Chad. We got a long episode tonight, man. We're going to be here for a while. So get your snacks, get your coffee, buckle in. Tell your friends that Plug Live and he running his mouth, man.
It's in this room. But a lot of the press right here, we're in Georgia, and I said to the owner, I made a speech at a factory. They make steel products. And I said, how are you? Nice to meet you. How's business? President, I'd love to kiss you. This is a very powerful man. I don't want to be kissed by that man. But a very powerful, strong man. He's been in the steel business for many years. His father started it. And he said, sir, I want to kiss you. I said, why? He said, because we were down to working 1 hour a week. And then you came in and imposed tariffs, and all of that foreign junk that they would.
We were down to working 1 hour a week. Now, come on, Bulletproof. 1 hour a week, big dog. 1 hour a week, bruh. He didn't tell you that, Trump, man. That man did not tell you we was down there working 1 hour a week, man. I don't give a fuck, bro. That man did not tell you we were down there working 1 hour a week, man. What the fuck is Trump talking about, bro? 1 hour a week, big dog? One. What the fuck you coming in for? The 1 hour?
We're dropping into our country, stopped. And we're now going to double shifts. 7 days a week, and we may be very soon going to 24 hours around the clock, almost 7 days a week. He said, sir, I want to kiss you so badly. And I said, no, thank you. But you know what? He just to finalize it, he said, oh, this is a great place in Georgia. He said, all up and down the highway. Same exact answer, sir. We're all going out of business. We're going to go bankrupt. We're all going out of business. And now every one of us are thriving, and we're hiring people like we haven't. He said, like I've never, and he's been in business for, I think, 45 years, like we've never hired before. That's because of tariffs. And we're going to keep it going the same way. And you're going to start to see the results in a year from now. Now,
maybe if he said we were down to one shift today. If Trump would have been like, yeah, he said we were down to one shift today and we were worried about having to lay people off. Now we got second and a third shift. We're running 24 hours here next month. That would make sense. But 1 hour? Man, who the fuck believes 1 hour, bro? One shift? Maybe.
Those factories start.
What it do, Cats?
Construction right now. You see all the construction numbers are so good. Those construction workers are building factories that are going to be open, including not only AI, which is big, but car plants coming in from Canada, who ripped us off for 30% of our market. Mexico ripped us off for a big portion. Over the years, they've taken our market. They've taken our cars. They manufacture them in Japan, Germany, and all over the place because nobody's standing in this position. The position I have as President of the United States had the insight, the courage, well, I don't know what it is, to charge tariffs. You can make your product outside.
But I'm going to be all the way honest with you, Chad. Now, him talking to that man at that specific steel company, their production could have increased. They might be getting ready to go 24 hours, 3 shifts. Fuck if I know. But I looked at the steel numbers and they had the chart manipulated, man. The chart from last year was way down here, and then they had, when Trump came in, the chart was like 3 times as fucking big for 1%. How the fuck is the chart 3 times as big for a 1% increase, man? Talking about steel is back, man. We're making, it's 1 fucking percent up. 1%, bruh. Like the 1% up, bruh. Like if you had $100, bruh, it would be $101, bruh. Shit is crazy.
You can put our people out of business. You can put everybody on the unemployment rolls. But if you're going to make a car in some other country, you're going to pay a 15, 20, 30% tariff. And those things would have never happened. We wouldn't have lost our business. Same thing with, as an example, Taiwan. Taiwan came in. They stole our chip business. They make chips. For 30 years longer, they made chip. And they put our companies. Intel would be now the largest company. I saved Intel. I literally saved it at the beginning of this administration.
Carlos, you say your city government pays people to leave and don't hire new people? I'm not really familiar with, the city government and how your specific area is working, but I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it at all. It seems like the city's always hiring, though. So are you saying like for officials, or are you talking about like municipal job, not municipal, but like jobs like the water company or electric company, or like, are you talking about those type of jobs, or are you talking about like,
And now all those companies in Taiwan are building factories in Arizona, Texas, and various other places because they don't want to pay tariffs. They're all pouring into the United States. But just like that great patriot said yesterday, sir, what you've done, nobody thought was possible. And Steve Moore, a highly respected economist, came into my office yesterday. He said, you've done something nobody's ever done. 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics said we would right now be in a recession. And you said, no, we're going to have a booming country. We're going to have a booming country. You were right. All 22 were wrong, and you were right. This country is booming.
Where the fuck is the country booming? I'm not even saying that to be like an asshole, or I'm just asking. I truly want to know, like, where the fuck are we booming, bro? I just watched y'all come back and adjust the jobs numbers by 1 million fucking jobs, bro. 1 million. Hell, Biden's last year, they only adjusted it by like 800,000. Y'all just came back and said y'all overshot jobs by a fucking million. 1 million.
It's booming because of the election on November 5th, and it's booming for another reason. It's booming because of tariffs. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. What will you say ahead of this decision that if the Supreme Court
please,
rules?
go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. What will you say to foreign nations who seek to renegotiate their deals? And what did you mean a moment ago when you said that the Supreme Court has been swayed by foreign interests?
Well, I think that foreign interests are represented by people that I believe have undue influence. They have a lot.
Yeah, the Dow was up by 50K, right? That's crazy, bro. Like, the Dow.
Lot of influence over the Supreme Court, whether it's through fear or respect or friendships, I don't know. But I know some of the people that were involved on the other
us like
side,
that.
and I don't like them. I think they're real slime balls. And got to do what's right for the country. You got to do what's right for the Constitution.
Shit is some bullshit, man. I'm here to tell y'all, Tony, chat, everybody. The Dow is up to 50K. What Pam Bundy say? The Dow, it's up to 50K. It's up to 50K, man. Well, let's look, man. Fucking tech and software, Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Cisco, IBM, and Salesforce. Apple, we just gonna be all the way honest, they haven't really innovated too fucking much. It's just brand awareness at this point. Microsoft, Bill Gates, we know what he wants to do, bring in the new fucking dark age, doesn't want us to eat any goddamn thing, man. Then we got Nvidia, the damn chips, you know. All of this shit is saying that the Dow Jones is up to 50K because we're going into a fucking police state, man. Our freedoms are being siphoned from us day by fucking day, man. If the Dow's up to 50 fucking K, guess what? Your freedoms are down to the floor, man. Your privacy rights are down to the fucking floor. Let's go on to the financial services. JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Visa, Amex, and MasterCard, man. Why the fuck are we even talking about this? JP Morgan Chase, man, we seen them manipulating the silver markets allegedly back in 2022, man. Now we got them again. Silver ran to the fucking floor, and what did they do? It looked like it might have been some more funny shit going on. Consumer and retail, Walmart, McDonald's, Home Depot, Nike, Procter and Gamble, man. Let's be honest with you, motherfuckers not really going to Home Depot because it's not too much building going on. McDonald's, they want $2.17 for a small fry. They lost they damn mind. Walmart is just Walmart. A lot of these Walmarts aren't even doing the damn food in the store anymore. Like when you go in there to get the food, they used to have a little lunch meal and shit where you can get you know what I'm saying, a 2-piece of shit, little combo. They don't even got that shit no more, man. They struggling. They piecing that shit out like it's crack, chat. Like it's crack, man. Energy and industrials, Chevron, Caterpillar, Boeing, 3M, Honeywell. I'm not even gonna talk about Boeing. I'm gonna let y'all minds take that where you want to go with Boeing. Chevron, we see them. Didn't they just say they don't want to fucking go down to Venezuela, get somebody else to do it? Telecommunication and media, Verizon, Disney, Coca-Cola. All right, that just fucking is what it is, I guess. I don't know. Travelers, insurance and financials, the travelers companies. And nobody's fucking traveling right now. They ain't doing too much traveling, chat. Shit is all bad, man. The Dow up 50K. Kiss my ass, man. That's I said all that to say kiss my ass for the Dow being up 50K.
And that's why I respect so much Justice Thomas and Alito, Kavanaugh, because they not only dissented, their dissent is so strong. When you read their dissent, you know, a lot of times you'll read a dissent and it's like, well, you don't know, it could go either way. There's no other way. The good news is, it's like Justice Kavanaugh said, very strongly said, you have other ways you can go. You don't have to go that way. You can go other way. There are numerous other ways you can go. And frankly, this should have been done by presidents many years ago. They allowed our country to be eaten alive. We lost 50% of our car business. We used to make cars. We made all the cars. And then Mexico came, Canada came, Japan and Germany. But they're all coming back now. They're all coming back at record levels.
I truly think that these people type into their AI how to kick the can down the road. How do we kick the can down the road so we can rug pull America before we have to move the fuck around? Honestly, Chad, I'm not even saying this shit to like just push a narrative or something. I truly think this is what the fuck is going on, man. Like, how the fuck do we kick this can down the road, man, so we can rug pull this bitch? Straight up.
No, please. I'm not talking to you. I don't talk to CNN. It's fake news. Go ahead.
Mr. President, yesterday you made the case that the economy is the hottest it's been in a long time. Right. January jobs report beat expectations, CPI report beat expectation, real wages are up. What would you tell Americans who are worried that this decision will kind of throw the economy that you have projected going in the right direction at a very rapid pace off track?
Well, thank you for the question. And I will say this. We really are at a very important point. I've been waiting for this decision so long. They could have made this decision a long time ago.
Bro. What the fuck is this reporter talking about, bro? Like, when they gonna get, man, listen. What do they call it, man? Real ass nigga going hard as fuck, man. They need to let me in there and ask some questions, bro. Cause I'm looking right here, man. They said we were supposed to add 584,000 jobs, right? I think I heard Trump say he added like 600,000 jobs to the private sector. Why the fuck am I looking at only 181,000 jobs added, man? This downward revision, the largest since 2009, reflects a much weaker labor market than previously believed, man. Like, where the fuck has this guy been? Oh, plug, he's talking about the January numbers. He's talking about the January numbers. Go look up the January numbers, plug. Okay, the January numbers say that we added 130,000 jobs. Unemployment fell to 4.32%. I don't fucking believe it, chat. I don't believe it, man. You just lied to me about fucking adding 600,000, damn. We looking at 181, man. The law, you adjusted more jobs than Biden, man. He was fucking asleep at the wheel. Stunning shaded the fuck out on the beach, man. And his shit didn't get even adjusted that much. What the fuck is going on here? Who is this reporter?
Not complex. They're wrong on it. It's a ridiculous decision, but they should have released this a long time ago.
Thank you, Big Niche.
And that gave uncertainty. Now we have certainty. And I think you're going to see the country get much stronger because of it. Look, we were ripped off by almost every country in the world. If you look at the surpluses, almost every country in the world that did business with us, our people were stupid. And I blame presidents for it because they're ultimately the leader. We were being ripped off by almost every single country in the world had some massive surpluses. China had hundreds of billions of dollars in surpluses with the United States. They rebuilt China. They rebuilt the army. We built China's army by allowing that to happen. I have a great relationship with President Xi, but he respects our country now. Now what we've done, I charged China a 20% tariff as a penalty for sending fentanyl in. And that was...
I'm just saying, chat, like, what? Let's put this shit together, bro. We have mass deportations. We have construction sites supposedly empty as fuck. Mass hirings going on. We added 654,000 jobs to the private sector. And they come back and adjust that shit and say, hey, look, man, that shit really didn't fucking happen. Where were they pulling this data from, bro? What the fuck do you mean it just didn't happen? And now we just supposed to move on. It's like, it's cool. It's cool. Mass deportations, you know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers getting snatched out of here and there. Jobs supposed to be opening and shit. Where? And when I was sitting here yelling at y'all, saying that this shit is people going to get second and third jobs and shit, people driving rideshare and doing delivery apps and shit, everybody looked at me fucking crazy. Now that they come back and adjust the jobs from projected 600,000 almost to 180K, everybody's quiet. Nobody has nothing to say. When I was calling them ghost jobs, oh, it's the ghost jobs. I'm telling y'all, I worked. I know what the fuck a ghost job is. I seen it go on in the fucking in business. No, it ain't no fucking ghost job. It's this, it's that. Where the fuck are y'all at now, man? It's awful quiet in this bitch, man. What?
It's 20 times more than they could make by selling fentanyl. And I said, you know, at some point you're going to say, like, and they have reduced it. You know, fentanyl is down by more than 30% coming into our country. Part of that is a strong border. We have a strong border now. But thank you. Thank you for your question.
Mr. President, sir, you warned once in a social media post that if the Supreme Court did this, shot down your tariffs, the U.S. would be, quote, financially defenseless. Are we financially defenseless right now?
No, because we're doing something in a different way. We're doing something in a very powerful way, and we're using things that some people thought we should have used in the first place. But it's more complicated. It's a little more complicated. The process takes a little more time, but the end result is going to get us more money, and I think it's going to be great. Yeah. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. So, since Liberation Day, there's about $175 billion in tariff revenue that is now in limbo. Do you have to refund $175 billion?
Think of it, Peter. Very fair question. They take months and months to write an opinion. and they don't even discuss that point. We've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars, not millions, hundreds of billions of dollars. And so I said, well...
So I'm trying to tell you, like, the Dow being at 50K, man, that shit's getting propped the fuck up, man. Like, let's be honest, man. What companies are really worth something on here? Yes, it's a lot of companies, but who's carrying it, man? Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia is carrying this shit, man. We're sold the fuck out. We're sold the fuck out, man, to big tech, the oligarchy. Man, we're sold the fuck out, man. If that shit fails, the Dow goes to hell, man. I'm talking about through the fucking floor, bro. It's either we go into a complete surveillance state or our country burns, man, financially. It's that. Those are the only two options, Chad. I'm sorry to say this shit, man. Those are the only two paths forward. Either we go into a fucking complete surveillance state, man, or our economy, we're third world, man. I'm talking about taking a wheelbarrow to the fucking grocery store to get a loaf of bread and some damn salami, man. A wheelbarrow, Chad.
What happens to all the money that we took in? It wasn't discussed. Wouldn't you think they would have put one sentence in there saying that keep the money or don't keep the money, right? I guess it has to get litigated for the next 2 years. So they write this terrible, defective decision, totally defective. It's almost like not written by smart people. And what they do, they don't even talk about that. Your question is very basic. That was the first question I asked also to make you feel good. I said, what about all the money that we've taken in? Sir, they don't discuss that. How crazy is that?
What you're saying is, are you saying that you don't plan to honor refunds for companies that file for them?
I just told you the answer, right? I told you the answer. It's not discussed. We'll end up being in court for the next 5 years.
You say the guy from Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary, or Grant Cardone? Don't they both be on Shark Tank sometimes, Grant Cardone and Kevin O'Leary?
Go ahead, Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. When you are talking about the relationship with countries that you have sought trade deals with, do you anticipate that they will seek to renegotiate those? What do you say to them, and do you view this as a potential undermining power for your
we're going
negotiations?
straight ahead with 10% straight across the board, which was
Y'all hit the like button.
The absolute right to do. And that's taking place. That's a lot of money coming into our country. And then during that period of about 5 months, we are doing the various investigations necessary to put fair...
See, Chad, when people say like they hate the Democrats or they hate the Republicans and shit, I don't, because I like balance. I like the checks and balances. I don't think either party should just be able to run rampant. Like, so for me, it's shit. Somebody got to check. With absolute power comes absolute corruption. We need, if we're gonna maintain a quote unquote system of checks and balances, man, we need, some fucking checks and balances. Now it's all about the lobbyists. We had this convo in the Discord. It's really about the lobbyists.
Tariffs or tariffs period on other countries. So we're doing that period, but we're immediately instituting the 10% provision, which we're allowed to do. And in the end, I think we'll take in more money than we've taken in before.
Mr. President, you've used the tariff revenue to pay for a host of federal policies. You claim that they will pay for them. What happens?
Well, like the farmers. We took care of farmers. The farmers were mistreated by foreign countries very badly, very, very badly. And last week I gave them $12 billion out of tariff money.
Nah, he said last week he gave them $12 billion. Listen, they were already knew. You gave them $12 billion because you knew the shit was coming down the pipeline. Let's be honest. The farmers are happy. Right now, the farmers are happy the Supreme Court ruled on this shit.
We intend to, out of tariff money, because just so you understand, we have tariffs. We just have them in a different way. And now they've been confirmed by the Supreme Court of the United States. So there's no longer that question out there about tariffs. And we'll be taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. And countries that have treated us badly will have to pay a price for treating us badly. And countries that have been good to us will be treated very well. We just left the top person in a place called Vietnam. Just left my office. Great gentleman. Strong and smart. He said, I think this means you're allowed to charge us more tariffs than before. And Canada said to Jameson, I might want to say it, Jameson, but Canada said, I hope you win this decision, because if you don't win, you'll actually be allowed to charge us with a little additional work, higher tariffs. Jameson, you want to comment on that?
Yes, sir. So, to the President's point, we have a lot of tools out there. We have Section 122, which will be implemented today, which will be signed today and implemented very shortly. We have Section 301 investigations, which are incredibly legally durable, where we can investigate and address unfair trading practices that have led to our huge trade deficit. And so you can look forward in the coming days and weeks to seeing all of that come out, and we're going to keep continuity in the program. We're going to keep addressing this so that the deficit can keep going down. That's the trend it has, and we can make America great again.
No.
I'm not gonna lie, Chad. We're on pace to be like in 42 trillion in debt, bro. I'm not gonna lie, Chad. I don't know. I don't think 150 billion gonna do it.
Republicans in Congress have supported this decision by the Supreme Court, and Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, has called you a wannabe king. Why wouldn't
him a low IQ?
But why wouldn't
he? Doesn't even know. And I watched him the other day interview. The guy doesn't even know what a tariff is.
But there's been bipartisan criticism
No, not bipartisan.
of the tariff.
Excuse me.
There's several
A few
Republicans
people.
have said that.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't you just work with Congress to come up with a plan?
I don't have to
push tariffs.
I have
through?
the right to do tariffs, and I've always had the right to do tariffs, and it's all been approved by Congress. So there's no reason to do it. All we're doing is we're going through a little bit more complicated process. Not complicated very much, but a little more complicated than what we had. We'll be able to take in tariffs, more tariffs. And the Congress people, and the Congress,
the Canadian tariffs last week.
Yeah,
There's been votes
you
in the
know why?
Senate against it.
Yeah, because we lost 2 Republicans or 3 Republicans because they're not good Republicans. What you don't say, you don't say that we got 215 votes.
You need
to
218 for something to pass.
Yeah, sure we do. We might have lost 3 votes, and we got. And what was the score on the Republican side? 215 to 3, right? But you don't say that. We have great unity. There's great unity in the Republican Party, and I hope everyone's going to vote Republican, because otherwise you won't have a country left. Because these people have been destroying. They are destroying our country. Please.
Mr. President, the 122 tariffs, that 10%.
Yeah.
Is that going to be for 150 days, or do you want to charge that indefinitely?
We have a right to do pretty much what we want to do, but we're going to charge it starting effectively. I think it's 3 days from now. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you speak to a lot of factory workers, a lot of manufacturing workers. What does the Supreme Court ruling say? What's that message to those factory workers?
Well, I think the factory workers are happy because we're now telling them that they're going to... Look, the man I met with yesterday who owned a factory was out of business. He was out of business. And now he's employing 5 times. In fact, I walked in, he's got a brand new crane. I said, how old is that crane? We got it in December. He's allowed to write it off in 1 minute. The Great Big Beautiful Act gave no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. He said this great big beautiful bill, frankly, has been the best thing that's ever happened for the workers.
Thank you, Rob. Rob says, can we all agree to disagree? But do we really think this guy's telling us the truth right now? I believe he's telling us his truth, Rob Curtis. Honestly, I do believe he's telling us his truth, because the way he's saying it is like, oh, jobs are doing great right now. We're the hottest country. Well, the Dow did just hit 50, but I just told you how it's propped up. He's saying that the jobs are good. I just told you the jobs numbers from last year got adjusted down to 180 something thousand from a projected 564. But quote unquote, they've added 130,000 jobs since January 1st. And it's fucking the middle of February. Well, at last quarter of February, right? So he's supposed to have been added 130,000 jobs in less than 2 months. But last year they only added 181,000 the whole damn. Yeah, come on, bro.
Much more so than for rich people. The only thing it does for rich people, it allows them to hire a lot more people. But when I saw him, and then he said it's all up and down the line. This is a place in Georgia, all up and down. Other factories doing different, not only steel products, different. He said every one of us was out of business. We could barely make it. Some of them were down to less than an hour a week. Think of it, 1 hour a week. to make just a few.
Hey, thank you, Rob. Y'all show Rob some loves and give him a like on that super chat, man. Thank you, Rob, for the continued support.
Trinkets or whatever they make. Now they're going round the clock. I had it a month ago. I went to Michigan, went to Ford, and I met with Bill Ford, the head of Ford, and we were in one of the biggest plants, an original plant from the early 1900s, where, by the way, I might add this, it's not really relevant, but it's all relevant. Murders are down the lowest since 1900, around the time that he had this plant. That's 125 years. We have the lowest murder rate. Okay. And our crime is way down in the country. The factories that we're talking about, the people that we're talking about, they are so thrilled with Trump. So whether we charge IEEPA tariffs or whether we charge tariffs under a different section, that's what we're going to be doing. There's no way we can ever. This is what happened to our country. This is why we owe.
So he's saying it's tariffs no matter what. Trump's saying that it's tariffs no matter what. Fuck the Supreme Court. I'm just going to use this section of this section of that, put an executive order down.
$38 trillion, which we'll get rid of in pretty good course. We have a very incompetent Fed chairman who likes high interest rates. For political reasons, he likes them. But we're going to have somebody very good. Interest rates should come down very substantially. I think we should pay the lowest interest rates on the planet. There should be no country, and we don't do that. We're number 38. This is just bad policy for a long period of time. But what's happened is we've made America.
That's the thing. Like, we got to get down to what? What's the target? 2% inflation. Get down to 2% inflation. Mortgage rates will come down by like what? About half, right? That's COVID era shit. I don't see how we fucking get there, bro. I honestly don't see how we get there. And then they just injected another $16 billion into the fucking economy, bro. Like, how are we gonna what?
And we've made America great again. We should pay. As an example, the country of Switzerland, we were getting almost no tariffs from them. We had a $40 billion deficit. And the Prime Minister called me up. She said, but we are a small country, because I said we're going to raise it to 39% from nothing. That would have rendered them not very successful. As opposed to right now, they're considered elite. But if we put a tariff, and I realized then, she said, but sir, we are a small country. I said, you're a small country with a big deficit. For us, you're making a lot of money off the United States. If we do that, a lot of these elite countries, they're elite because we let them make so much money. And I want them to do well. But I don't want them to do well on the backs of the American taxpayers. So I appreciate your question. I think it's...
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you like this, Team Hype TV, man. If they don't get us all converted over to the damn digital, whatever it's going to be, fully integrated, everything AI, man, and they rug pull this shit, this is gonna be the largest rug pull in world history, man. If they rug pull America, chat, I believe this is what the fuck is going on, bro. I believe they're about to rug pull this bitch, chat. I'm not lying to you, chat. I'm not lying.
President Trump, you said that you were disappointed with that, but were you surprised with this decision? What you felt when you...
I was surprised because I thought that what we did was, number one, according to, I read the paragraphs, I read very well, great comprehension. I read everything there is to read, and I said, can't lose this case. But we can when judges are political, when they want to be politically correct, when they're catering to a group of people in D.C., maybe. I don't know what it is, because when you read it, there's no other interpretation. There is no other interpretation. But it's okay, because what has come out, I'll say it for the third time and maybe the last time in a while, is that we've taken the uncertainty of tariffs out, because we had uncertainty. We got sued by sleazebags, I know them well, that are very outside country, China-centric, but outside country-centric. And they're going to end up not doing as well as they did before. America was becoming really, we're strong again. Hey, we have the strongest military. I rebuilt the military in the first term. We have the most powerful military. We make the best equipment. And even them, we could do much better. We have people that get paid.
When I say rug pull this bitch, chat, I mean rug pull this bitch. Like, whole housing prices have got to the most unaffordable that they've ever been in history. We still have the commercial real estate bubble. We got the AI bubble, and they know all of this, bro. And they're fucking pulling the strings as well. So, listen, chat. If they know this shit's brewing anyway, the commercial real estate bubble's been going on. The AI bubble towards singularities like that, man. Then we have the commercial real estate bubble. Oh, like I said, it's been going on. Now houses are the most unaffordable they've been in history. If they know the fucking shit's about to hit the fan anyway, do you not think they're about to rug pull this bitch? Like, hey, y'all knew this shit was coming anyway. The fucking rug pull this bitch, bro. It's crazy.
A lot of money
allegedly
to manufacture Patriot missiles and javelins and all the different things, but when you want them, they're too slow, and we put them on notice, and they're going to make. Our country is building a lot of things right now, and our country is doing really well, and we're going to keep it that way. The bottom line is that the word certainty is now in the equation. Every single thing I said today is guaranteed certainty. It's been tested, as Jameson said 1,000 times. It was literally, I said hundreds of times. He said, sir, actually thousands of times, and won in all of the courts. And we're just going back to that. And the problem is that we had other presidents that weren't into trade. Maybe they weren't business oriented. Maybe they weren't smart. We had some dummies too, respectfully say we had some real dummies. So we are going to keep it going just as before, probably more so, but you're no longer going to be asked, every time I got up, you'd ask, well, what happens if you can't charge tariffs? Now we can. And by the way, in their decision, they specifically said, we can do these. We have alternatives, yeah.
David, on the trade deals that were negotiated using IEEPA tariffs, do those stand now, or are they have to be redone?
Well, some of them stand. Many of them stand. Some of them won't, and they'll be replaced with the other tariffs.
Mr. President, the Supreme Court justices who ruled against this the policy, striking it down, are they still invited to your State of the Union next week? And will you speak with them?
They are invited, barely.
Barely. Shit.
3 are happily invited. No, they're barely invited. Honestly, I couldn't care less if they come. Okay.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. On the trade deal, which is the framework which is to be signed with India sometime soon, will that stand now? And on the decision, nothing changes?
No, nothing changes. They'll be paying tariffs, and we will not be paying tariffs. Our deal with India is they pay tariffs. This is a reversal from what it used to be, as you know. India, I think Prime Minister Modi is a great gentleman, a great man.
So he's saying India's paying tariffs. Well, India's offering companies no taxes for I think 20 years if they put their AI data centers over there. It might be 100 years. It's something, bro. They're offering no taxes if they build the AI data centers over there.
But he was much smarter than the people that he was against in terms of the United States. He was ripping us off in India. So we made a deal with India, and it's a fair deal now, and we are not paying tariffs to them, and they are paying tariffs. We did a little flip.
So as of now for this,
No, the India deal is on.
So much, Mr. President.
All the deals are on. We're just going to do it a different way.
Mr. President. Thank you so much, Mr. President. I think there is another war that you spoke about, and you should take the credit, which is in Syria. Secretary Rubio, after his meeting in Munich with the Syrian foreign minister and the Kurdish general Masloum Abdi, he said that President Trump was directly involved in efforts to stop the fighting between the Kurds and the Syrians. How will your administration make sure that this peace is sustained? And do you support the idea?
Well, it's a very different topic, and so I don't want to spend a lot of time. But all I can say is that the president of Syria, who I essentially put there, is doing a phenomenal job. He's a rough guy. He's not a choir boy. A choir boy couldn't do it. But Syria is coming together, really coming together well. And thus far, he's been very good to the Kurds. Yeah.
Mr. President, what's your message to the Iranian people after 2 rounds of talks with them. Do you have any message to the Iranian people?
The Iranian people in Iran or people here?
People in Iran.
They better negotiate a fair deal. You know, the people of Iran are a lot different than the leaders of Iran. And it's very, very sad situation. But 32,000 people were killed over a relatively short period of time. They were going to hang 800, 2 weeks ago, hang some by crane. They lift them up with a tall crane.
A crane?
The square. They were going to hang 837 people. And I gave them the word, if you hang one person, even one person, that you're going to be hit right then and there. I wasn't waiting 2 weeks and negotiating. And they gave up the hanging. They didn't hang 837. Supposedly they didn't hang anybody. But no, I feel very badly for the people of Iran. They've lived in hell. Please.
Mr. President, you mentioned multiple times foreign influence over the Supreme Court. Do you have evidence of that? And if not, will you investigate that?
You're going to find out.
What alternatives are you going to put into place in your relationship with Europe, and also those tariffs that have been called illegal? How they're going to go impact the relationship with Russia, that you sanction
Well, I want Europe to strengthen up. Europe has gone woke. Europe is not recognizable when you go into so many places. Not all countries. You look at Hungary. You look at Poland, Czech, Slovakia. There are some countries that have gone very much the opposite. Some really, and some others. But Europe has to be strong, and they become soft and not recognizable. You go into some of the countries, I don't want to be specific, but I think everyone knows what I'm talking about, and they're not recognizable. They become, the environmentalists have taken over. They've got windmills destroying their fields and their beautiful meadows and their oceans, and they're paying a fortune. Now, Europe has to get smart. Europe's getting killed on two things, energy and immigration. And if they don't solve both of them fast, Europe is not the same place. Yeah, please.
Justices Gorsuch and Barrett, are you surprised in particular by their decision today? And do you regret nominating them?
I don't want to say whether or not I regret. I think their decision was terrible. Yeah. I think it's an embarrassment to their families. You want to know the truth? The two of them. Yeah.
Specifically on that $2,000 tariff check.
Mr. President,
I didn't call you.
You didn't call me?
Yeah, Mr. President, to be clear, do you believe at the end of implementing these new tariff tools, the tariff rate and tariffs will ultimately be higher than they currently are?
Potentially higher. It depends, whatever we want them to be. But we want them to be fair for other countries. And, you know, we have some countries that have treated us really badly for years. And it's going to be high for them. And we have other countries that have been very good, and it's going to be very reasonable for them. Yeah.
Specifically on the tariffs question, I mean on the $2,000.
I didn't call you.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. Do you have any plans to travel to India for the Quad Summit, and how do you think your relationship with India is right now?
I think my relationship with India is fantastic, and we're doing trade with India. India pulled out of Russia. You know, India was getting its oil from Russia, right? And they pull way back at my request because we want to settle that horrible war where 25,000 people are dying every month. And my relationship with Prime Minister Modi is, I would say, great. I also stopped the war between India and Pakistan, as you know. There were 10 planes were shot down. That war was going, and probably going nuclear. And just yesterday, the Prime Minister of Pakistan said President Trump saved 35 million lives by getting them to stop. That's and I did it largely with tariffs. I said, look, you're going to fight, that's fine, but you're not going to do business with the United States, and you're going to pay a 200% tariff, each country. And they called up and they said, we have made peace. Okay? I just want to thank you all. Look,
we have made
great
peace.
certainty has been brought back to the economy of the United States, and actually the economy of the world, because we generate so much in the world. We're the biggest in the world, and we're now the strongest by far. We were a country that was dead 1.5 years ago. Now we have the hottest country in the world. We're going to keep it that way. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Chad.
Listen, it's called Connect Team, and it's insane.
What the fuck, man? All right, Chad, we finna have a little intermission right quick, man. So go grab your snacks, your chips, man, whatever the hell you need to grab, man, to get locked in. Oh, I done got y'all in my business. Hold on, Chad. Y'all ain't supposed to be all over here. Yeah, go get your snacks, your chips, whatever you want to get, man. Hold on, Chad. Alright, damn. Alright, yeah, Chad. So we finna get into this Piers Morgan debate. They talking about the UK.
The growing narrative.
They talking about the UK and all of that. So I want to know how y'all feel about Trump's speech right there. Y'all think Trump was lying? Do y'all think he kept it telling the truth? Y'all let me know. We finna watch Piers Morgan. They're talking about is the UK being invaded, and I think they got Chink and a few other people on here tonight. We gonna watch this, and then we'll get into we'll get into some of that Westmore. The Westmore interview Trump was sitting down where he said, I watched the interview the other night. He's a clown. Yeah, we're gonna watch some of that, man. Y'all let me know, chat. Double tap the screen, shut a live out, man. Go and get your shit together, man. And let's lock in. I'm about to go get my food, though. I gotta go get my food out the car.
Is being invaded by radical Muslims and taken over.
These lies around quote-unquote grooming gangs, which is not even a criminal category of people from the space. Did you say grooming gangs are not a criminal category? It's not a criminal category.
You're raping young girls. It's not a criminal category.
People are not prosecuted on the basis of grooming gangs. That's a media term.
Sorry, I can't let that go.
It's a coincidence that in the middle of the Epstein files, all of a sudden this scandal comes up again. Oh, look at that squirrel! Oh, look over there! Don't look at the Epstein files.
This guy
Don't look at
is
the child
beyond
rape
unbearable.
rates. Oh, grooming gangs.
I would like to say,
You're picking on random stuff that have no relevance. I gotta go. Bye, Piers.
Uncensored viewers will be well aware that many American politicians and commentators have a very bleak view of Britain. The UK, they say, has fallen. The nation of Shakespeare, the Beatles, and the Magna Carta has become a nation of Sharia law, grooming gangs, and censorship. Megyn Kelly articulated this view last week in her usual excoriating style on my show.
This attitude that you have right here is why you in Great Britain have lost your culture. You ceded your culture to a bunch of radical Muslims who came in and took over, and now it's gone. We're not allowing that here. Whether it's Hispanic, whether it's Muslim, it's not happening in the United States of America. That's why President Trump was elected.
Now, whether you agree with her sentiment or not, and I don't, the fact is that many British people do agree with it. Nigel Farage's Reform UK is leading in national polls. Elon Musk, who says a civil war is inevitable in the UK and often boosts anti-Muslim content on his platform X, is endorsing another new party which pledges to reverse migration. Leader of that party, Rupert Lowe, wants to ban burqas. Well, last week, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the billionaire owner of Manchester United, said the UK has been colonised by immigrants. And just as it is in the US, there's been a social media-fueled resurgence of casual racism. There was a big debate in the UK about whether Rishi Sunak is really English. Tommy Robinson's views have been mainstreamed and normalised. Robert Jenrick, one of Nigel Farage's new recruits to reform, was recorded complaining that he hadn't seen another white face while visiting an area where most of the residents are Muslim. All of these things were considered beyond the pale a few years ago. So what's behind it all? Has the UK really lost its culture to radical Islam? Here to debate this, Reform UK's candidate for London Mayor, Leila Cunningham, rapper and activist Loki, Andrew Gold, host of the Heritage podcast, Black Studies professor and author of Nobody Can Give You Freedom, Kehinde Andrews, and Cenk Uygur, the founder and host of The Young Turks, an outspoken critic of online Muslim bashing. Okay, let's start with Leila Cunningham, who is a candidate to be Mayor of London. Welcome to Uncensored. We've not had you on before. This narrative, which a lot of American guests of mine, friends of mine, people
Chad, do y'all think the UK is cooked?
There's a growing narrative that
do y'all think the UK is cooked?
Invaded by radical Muslims and taken over, and that people like me can barely leave our front door because of this radical invasion, which I think is a ridiculous overreach of what the real situation is. But what do you feel of it?
So I think it depends which part of the country you're in, which part of London you're in. And I think the real question people are asking themselves is who right now sets the cultural norms in certain parts of the country? And who adapts to whom? Should it be the host nation that adapts to those that arrive, or should it be the new arrivals that adapt? And people feel that as a host nation, we haven't asked new arrivals to adapt, we haven't asked them to assimilate or integrate, and mass immigration has caused rapid demographic change, and that has created certain people, British people, to feel that their way of life has changed in where they live. And, some people say it's racist to notice this, and others say it's authoritarian to forbid discussion about this. But, I say that it's not racist to want to preserve your way of life. It's not racist to want to preserve your values. It's patriotism. You're like, hang on, there's so many people here. My town looks completely different. The shops are in a different language. And it's just not, it's not the town I grew up in. And I want it to stop. I don't like it. I don't think there's anything wrong with pointing that out.
Low-key, welcome back to Uncensored. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, billionaire owner of Manchester United, notwithstanding the fact that I think he's a bit of a hypocrite because he himself is an immigrant to Monaco, where he resides as for tax reasons. And also it has a team in Manchester United where the majority of their starting 11 are economic migrants to the UK. So there's hypocrisy there. And I didn't like his comments about Britain being colonised by immigrants. I thought they were crass and inflammatory. But there were some points he was making, notwithstanding again that he got some of his facts wrong. But there has been a very large increase in the UK population from the turn of the century to now, nearly 20 million more people. That has had an inevitable impact on adding huge pressure to our infrastructure and public services. That is unquestionable. And there's been obviously a massive influx of...
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. How do y'all feel about that, chat? Would y'all want y'all neighborhood to change, or where y'all live to change, and have different languages around? Some of y'all might go through that. I know in Cali or certain parts of Texas, it might be like that. Arizona.
To the UK in that time as well. So it's understandable that some people are putting all this together and blaming the influx of millions of migrants to the UK. What is your pushback to the people that make that argument?
There are 3 points to take into account here, Piers. Number one, people have been disaffected by deindustrialization, by the privatization of key state assets and state functions. They know that their services have essentially been siphoned off to private interests, but they are disaffected by that and then misdirected into diagnosing what exactly the problem is. And on top of that, there is the 20 years of war on terror, which in terms of the essentially billionaire tax haven Epstein class has necessitated propaganda against Muslims on an industrial scale. And unfortunately, one of the key individuals in that has been Rupert Murdoch, who himself, according to reports, despite generating billions from the UK, went 11 years without paying corporate tax. But you have to also look further at Christopher Harborne, the key funder of Reform UK, somebody with multiple business interests in the Cayman Islands, in the tax havens of the Channel Islands, and others. And what about Jeremy Hosking, another individual UK, who has business interests, Marathon Asset Management, along with Harborne, is of course based in Jersey, which is a tax haven. When you look at who profits from the railways in this country, they are largely companies based in either other countries or tax havens. So people have been disenfranchised and disaffection is real. However, they have been encouraged by individuals like Murdoch and others to divert all of that energy onto the shoulders of the most vulnerable. Only 0.18% of this country are refugees. If they do have recourse to public funds, which over 1 million people don't, it's £37.50 per week. Who is a bigger burden on the people of this country? Is it a person sitting next to you in the doctor's surgery whose name you can't pronounce, whose borders were defined in the lifetime of your grandparents? Or is it the person selling you the newspapers who is siphoning off the money into a tax haven elsewhere? That is ultimately who is pushing this complete propaganda and fact manipulation. This is not a real reflection of events, as you yourself
but my response to that would be, I'm not questioning the validity of your criticism of billionaires, that's fine, but it's not really going to the heart of what my question was, which is whether Jim Ratcliffe, when he said that this country has had an unsustainable influx of migrants coming into the country, both legally and illegally, which has made the population massively higher, put huge burden onto our public services, but also led to a lot of, I would say, unrest in parts of Britain, where there is a sense that the culture of individual towns or cities has been completely changed by the influx of migrants. And, you know, all these things can be true at the same time. So in relation, just before I move to the rest of the panel, in relation to those points that he made, would you concede that we've allowed too many people to come in?
Only 1% of the land in this country is used for house building. There is about 1 in every 65 people in London who is homeless. You're right, there is a strain on public services, and that's because austerity, which has been a bipartisan orthodoxy, a necro-political bipartisan orthodoxy, is believed to have led to the deaths, the preventable deaths of at least 130,000 people. That's according to Danny Dorling of Oxford University. So yes, there's a strain on public services, but it is certainly not because of people getting £37.50 per week or people that have no recourse to public funds. It is because there has been a death by 1,000 cuts mentality practiced towards public services. And people have that perception because they've been propagandized with it on a daily basis by a media which is almost pogrom pushing, Piers, to be honest with you. It's a miracle that more people haven't been attacked and harmed in the streets with the level of propaganda that people are subject to in this country.
Okay, Andrew Gold, you know, I live in West London, in an area which has a lot of rich people, a lot of very poor people. And I walk up and down my local high street. It's incredibly multicultural. Pretty much every store, every like hairdressers or dry cleaners or restaurant, whatever, is manned and owned and staffed by people from all over the world. It's an extraordinary place to live, and I love it. I don't recognise the depiction of the part of London I'm in as being overrun by radical Muslims. In fact, the opposite. Now, I accept there are parts of the country which are predominantly Muslim in terms of population demographic, and that people who may live there who are not Muslim feel like things have changed very fast and not necessarily in the way they feel comfortable with. I accept I don't necessarily live in one of those places. But this idea that we've been overrun by radical Muslims, as Megyn Kelly put it, I do think is a massively wild exaggeration that is not, to me, bearing a relevance to reality.
No, I don't know if we've been overrun by radical Muslims. That might be a bit strong. If we continue the way we're going, that probably will happen. I mean, we just have to look at historical precedent. What happened in Iran, Afghanistan, Lebanon. Once it starts, it's unlikely to stop. I think those who are not concerned about Islam simply don't understand what Islam is. They don't understand extreme religion. I grew up, I'm a Jewish person, I grew up and I know what the Hasidic Jewish community are like. I know that they are, in many cases, a law unto themselves. But they're a tiny, tiny proportion of the country. If there were 5 or 6 million of them, and they were having more and more children, bringing more and more people into this country, I think we'd all have a huge problem with that. Now, when these people come into this country and have an entirely different culture to our own, and then they are encouraged not to adopt ours, but in the name of multiculturalism to celebrate their own, then they're going to bring their culture with them. And that means, just like in the 50 to 55 countries that are Islamic, there is no homosexuality. Maybe in 1 or 2 it's kind of allowed, but it's frowned upon. Women are treated as second-class citizens. Loki made the point about it being a miracle that more Muslims aren't attacked on the streets. Well, we are seeing Jews attacked on the streets day after day. We even had Little Britain guy was just screamed out on the street. That is literally happening day after day after day. We get people from...
Hey, I seen this one guy, I don't know where they was at, but this man picked up a little boy. He picked up the little baby, like they were at a train station or somewhere, man. He picked up the little baby and like just picked him up and like flipped him and slammed him, man, like straight on his face, man. And then like that shit was so horrible, bro. Like I'm like, bro, like who could do that to just a random, like who could do that to any kid? And then it was a random kid. It's crazy.
From places like Pakistan, we get tens and tens of thousands from Pakistan. According to Pew Research, the percentage of people in Pakistan who dislike Jews or have unfavorable views of Jews is 99%. So Jewish families that I know, they take down any identifying features that show they're Jewish. That cannot be, but that is not the Britain that I grew up in. That is not the Britain of the 90s and the 80s. This is we're headed for trouble right now. And unless we stop this now, unless people start taking it seriously, then things are going to get progressively worse and people are going to have to leave not just this country, but Europe.
Well, let's go to Cenk Uygur, who's across the pond. I mean, Cenk, it's been very striking to me that, Elon Musk, just in recent months, has posted on X, "Civil war in Britain is inevitable." That's had 58 million views. When reposting a graph showing foreign national sex crime arrest rates, Musk commented, "The rape of Britain. Remember to drop a white feather for the cowards who failed to stop this." Again, if the current British government is not on the side of the people of Britain, then are they, by definition, traitors? And so on and so on. Very highly charged, inflammatory language. And again, a lot of mythology about this. For example, Musk is right to say the grooming gang scandal in the UK was an absolute disgrace, particularly in relation to Rotherham and Telford, where thousands of predominantly young white English girls were sexually abused and raped by largely, in these particular scandals, British Pakistani Muslim men. That's undeniable. But if you actually look at the wider percentage in terms of the whole country, you would find, according to the police and the Crown Prosecution Service, that if you look at 2024, for example, for all serious indictable offences, including rape, 83% were committed by white people, 7% by black people, 6% by Asians. The majority of child exploitation, sexual exploitation suspects, 83%, and victims, 85%, were white. Data from 2024 indicated that only 3.9% of group-based abusers were of Pakistani heritage, 85% were white. Now, statistics can tell myriad stories, but I think the point I would make in telling you those figures is that if you listen to some people across the pond, there's a sense that, all the sexual abuse in the country is being perpetrated by Pakistani Muslim men. That's simply not true. We've had some disgusting scandals which were terribly badly handled and covered up by governments and authorities who thought it was too racially incendiary to reveal who was perpetrating. But that doesn't mean that Britain is awash with these people perpetrating these crimes on a gigantic scale across the country. So there's a lot going on here, but my overriding sense, living mostly in the UK, is that this characterization is false. What do you make of it?
Yeah, so look, almost all of our corporate media, pundits that are in the establishment media, our politicians, etc., do propaganda, and this is propaganda. Now, let me explain why. They say, "Oh my God, we might have a Muslim takeover of our countries." Israel's already taken over all of our governments, and it's not just Israel. Big Pharma, to Loki's point, all the donor class, the Epstein class. They've all taken over our governments. They've certainly taken over the American government, the British government. The Irish seem to be free, thank God for that. And then they go, "It's the Muslims." I mean, it's almost comical. It's comical. And then we're talking about, grooming gangs going after kids or whatever. Oh, that comes out just as everyone's talking about the Epstein files and how a bunch of pro-Israeli figures raped American girls. Oh, it's the Muslims! It's the Muslims! So next time you hear it's the Muslims, I guarantee you that it's Israeli propaganda trying to divert you from something that's in the news now. And everything is constantly subverted and inverted, right? So, like, Israel has a right to exist. Wait, Palestinians don't exist. Palestine doesn't exist. Israel does exist. Everything in our media is utter propaganda on behalf of Israel. So I warn you about all of these topics is to try to drive up hatred against Muslims, against immigrants. Now, if you're in Europe, to address some of the points here, and you say, hey, you know what, I want Germany just for the Germans, or the French just for the French. I'm not German or French, that's your business, okay? But I'm an American, and in America, we believe in equality. That's the core thesis of this country. And the country is made up of almost nothing but immigrants. Jewish immigrants, Muslim immigrants, Italian, Irish, and we become the #1 country in the world because of that diversity and that equality. And the pro-Israel forces that control our government hate that. They're like, no, don't let any more Muslims in. And if they criticize Israel, arrest them, take away their liberties. Now they got a Religious Liberty Commission that's taking away religious liberty if you criticize Israel. I mean, it is over-the-top absurd. And if you say, hey, wait, I'm concerned about a lot of Muslims in Britain. Okay, maybe I believe you if that seems to be your concern. But wait a minute, they say the same thing about America, and there's barely any.
Where is Chink at? Is he in America? Because he's speaking like he's not in the country. You said he's an undercover Republican?
Muslims in America. So that's how you can tell it's propaganda. Because it's not really related to the facts. It's related to news events around Israel. Whenever Israel is in the news in a bad way, you'll see a whole heap of people attacking Muslims in UK, US, and everywhere else as if they're the real problem. Muslims in the West have almost no power. People who support Israel have nearly infinite power. These are obvious facts.
Okay, Kehinde Andrews, a lot to unpack there from Cenk. And I'll come back to you later in a moment because you are a practicing Muslim, which is interesting given your perspective on this. But Kehinde, in answer to Cenk's point, I would make this point, and I say this without any comment about it, other than it's just a statistical fact. Britain has pretty much the same number of Muslims as the United States, despite having a population of 67, 68 million to America's 340 million. So we have a significantly higher percentage of the population is Muslim and is rising pretty rapidly, actually. There's no doubting the statistical reality of that. Is that a cause for pause, for concern? Would you be comfortable if Britain became, for example, a majority Muslim country in 40, 50 years' time? Do you understand why, white Christians in Britain are fearful of that prospect because they feel it's going against what the inherent culture of the country is?
No, I mean, I think we have to really understand the history here. Why does Britain have a large Muslim population? As we said, countries like Pakistan, which were part of the British Empire, one of the biggest problems we have in this discussion is that actually Britain was never this little island. Britain was the largest empire that's ever existed in the entire world, and we are here because you were there. This is why Pakistani people come here. This is why there's a large Muslim population. So when you talk about what Britain is, the fact is the Caribbean.
Chill out, Top Cat. I'm not gonna lie. Chill out, Top Cat. Y'all, you gotta stop that, man. You can't be calling me out of here, man. You can't be calling me out of here, man.
Africa, Asia actually massively contribute to what Britain is anyway. So it's frankly ahistorical to just say, well, look, they're coming in with these different values. Because I promise you, these values have been part of the nation since before people migrated in. I would also say, if you actually look at the evidence, I mean, it is frankly ridiculous to suggest that Britain is going to be majority Muslim at any point. That is not going to happen. What you actually find is you have high levels of concentration of minorities in particular areas, and the reason why areas, I mean, I live in Birmingham, the place where Robert Jenrick came around and said, oh, there's so many Muslims. Actually, most of the people in Handsworth are not Muslim. It's massively diverse. You find very few areas in the United Kingdom which are 100% Muslim. The only areas, in fact, you'll find in the United Kingdom which have more than 100,000 people and are one ethnic group is white British people. Because most of the country is white British people. The reason that areas like Handsworth and inner cities are so diverse is something called white flight. When I moved into my neighbourhood, there were loads of white people. When we move in, they move out. And then we all live in mostly concentrated poverty in inner cities, and then people complain about how the country's changed. It's completely ridiculous, fabricated, nonsensical, and it is all just driven by, like Loki said, this is about the actual reason you can't get a doctor's appointment is because they changed the tax rules so that billionaires are taking all your money. There have been lots of immigration over the last 20 years, but the GDP has gone up because of that immigration. We have more money in the country because of immigration. The problem is the mosques, the people like that, the Tim Ratcliffes, the Farages, you probably Piers as well, are benefiting from these tax loopholes, which mean that now that things are underfunded. Complete nonsense. The whole point of this is to misdirect from the fact that it's actually the rich. Maybe Israel in some
What's
extent,
up, Marvin?
certainly the rich are actually taking it. And you just blame it on immigrants.
Well, Andrew Gold, you're laughing there. Why are you laughing?
Yeah, because all three people, we're talking about immigration and Islam in the United Kingdom, which is a very serious issue, and all three of these guys have inexplicably blamed Israel. It has nothing to do with any of this. And to suggest that it's not anti-Semitic, I don't like to go around throwing anti-Semitic, I don't like the whole victim game, but it's the one tiny country in the world that's Jewish, and they're saying the reason that we're thinking about this is because of Israel. Meanwhile, the right are constantly saying to us that it's Israel and the Jews who are bringing the Muslims in. So the Jews are simultaneously bringing all the Muslims in because we love multiculturalism so much, and at the same time, it's all of us who are the ones who are blaming them. It's just utter nonsense. These people, they just completely...
Israel and Jews.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
No, it's complete, not every Piers.
Yes.
I would like to
Layla.
Yeah, honestly, listening to some of your panel it's so infuriating. Calling concerns about immigration propaganda is really disrespectful to the ordinary person. It assumes that they can't think for themselves. It assumes that, if only the approved narrative is allowed. People live with the consequences every day of mass migration, housing, wages, schools. That's not propaganda. Can you hear me, sorry?
Yeah.
Hello?
No, it is propaganda.
Yeah, we can hear you later. Keep going, yeah.
No, hang on. Can I just finish? The British public are not sheep. They don't need permission from commentators like the ones on your panel to talk about what's happening in their country. And the reason why we have massive demographic change in certain parts of the country is because right now, as refugees, asylum seekers, when their claim gets deemed approved, become refugees, and they are put to the top of the housing list because they are deemed most in need. And they are put in certain parts of the country in massive amounts of numbers. And when you do have immigration in massive amounts of numbers, they don't integrate, they tend to dominate. And that's what you've seen. And to say that it's due to propaganda is frankly really insulting. And I don't know one of your guests said that,
have I insulted you?
What's the big deal about the grooming gang?
You guys all insult
Muslims
24/7.
Yeah,
now
you
you're
have
going to
actually.
catch feelings over getting
Well, I am
insulted.
a Muslim. I am a Muslim, and I'm insulted.
Okay,
I would like to respond to Layla.
Hang on. I am a Muslim, and I'm insulted. I'll tell you what. And the difference between the grooming gangs and everything else, and it might have a relation to Epstein, is that yes, we do have white people committing grooming and sexual assault. The difference is that the state overlooked it. The difference is that these girls were groomed right in front of social services. They were picked up from schools. Counsellors knew, the police knew, and they were failed by the state. The cover-up is just as big as the abuse that happened, and that is because we have politicians who are bowing down to a bloc Muslim vote. And the sooner we recognise that, the sooner we can deal with an issue. Right now, we have governments that are trying. We have
a child rapists.
We have a Labour government.
They've gotten away with it because they are super powerful, and those same child rapists are now trying to blame Muslims and to distract you. Because not one of them has been held accountable. The child rapists.
To be clear, sorry. Okay, hang on. Look, just to be clear, hang on, Layla.
Shane went crazy, didn't he?
Please, everybody, time out for a moment. Time out, Cenk. I want to make a point. Is that it's actually disingenuous to say that the grooming gang scandal is in any way connected to Israel or what's happened in the last few years. This is a scandal that's been 20 years.
Not 1% disingenuous. Almost every piece of anti-Muslim propaganda is driven by Israel and their allies in American media and politics.
But Cenk, we're talking about a scandal that's 20 years old, and the real scandal was not just the appalling abuse of these girls by these predominantly British Pakistani Muslim men, but it was in various towns. But also the cover-up by the establishment. Hang on, Cenk. Hang on, I'm finishing my point. But also the cover-up by the establishment from bottom up to the top, because people were worried about saying who was perpetrating the crimes for fear that it would cause racial hatred towards the British Pakistani community, which was in itself a scandal. But it had nothing to do with an Israeli lobby. It's been going on for 20 years.
Okay, can I speak, Piers?
Yeah. So listen, I have a point to make. You're telling me that it's a coincidence? It's a coincidence that in the middle of the Epstein files, that all of a sudden this scandal comes up again. Oh, look at that squirrel!
Oh,
look over
shut
there!
up!
Look at
Sorry,
the
excuse
Epstein
me. This guy
Look
is
at the
beyond
child
unbearable.
rapists.
Okay.
Grooming gangs.
I would like to say. 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 I would like to say.
Check clip for him, man.
No, don't talk Muslims have more power than pro-Israel people in the UK or the US. Because I'd love for you to make that point, because that's a hilarious joke. The people who have more power than Epstein class, not one of them has been prosecuted. Not one of them.
Well, they should be.
Yeah, let me bring in Loki. Loki, your response.
Okay.
Loki.
The point here is that Reform UK is funded by Christopher Harborne, who is a resident of Thailand and has an alternative name that he uses. Reform UK is also funded by Jeremy Hoskin, who is a resident of Ireland. Both of them have business interests all over tax havens. Why are they unpatriotic? That is insulting to the people of this country. The second point, to address what was mentioned before, there's a book by the name of The Islamophobia Industry, Social Movements from Above. There's a chapter in it by Sarah Marusek. She analysed the Islamophobia industry, which includes a plethora of think tanks.
Can I just stop you there? I am Muslim.
I didn't interrupt you. I haven't finished making my point. Please allow me to finish.
Everyone else did.
Please allow me to finish.
I don't need to hear about a book that's full of propaganda.
75% of the organisations that fund the Islamophobia industry also fund the building of illegal Israeli settlements in violation of the Fourth Geneva Convention. That is a material historical fact.
What are you talking about? We have thousands of British white girls who were tortured and raped by Pakistani Muslim rape gangs.
Child sexual exploitation in this country are
you interrupting now?
Are male. The majority of those carrying out sexual crimes in this country.
I'm gonna have to.
In this country,
okay, let
are
Layla
not
finish her
Pakistani
point.
men. That is a manufactured myth by you and others like you.
Let Layla finish her point, please.
I'm a Muslim, right? And I do not appreciate we have a Labour government that's trying to push Islamophobia laws, trying to criticise and criminalise any criticism of Islam. That is not what Britain's about. Britain is about freedom of speech and the freedom to criticise everything. We have Pakistani Muslim rape gangs that were ignored to protect a Muslim bloc vote. We do have Islamic radical terrorism in this country, and no other kind of terrorism. And I have to speak out because I recognise that there are millions of Muslims like me who don't feel that way, who don't associate themselves. But to pretend that it is not happening in this country is actually a danger to this country. We have people who are convicted. Can you just be quiet for a second, for Christ's? We have a convicted terror bomb maker from the Muslim Brotherhood from Egypt who arrived illegally on a boat and that was granted asylum, put in a hotel in London at the taxpayer's expense. There is something fundamentally wrong with the way we discuss radical Islam in this country. And I agree, it's not taking over the country. Of course not, but it does represent a national threat. And Muslims in general, the majority of them come here to integrate and assimilate, and they are like me. But there are some that come to Britain and expect the country to change for them. And if it doesn't change for them, we get people like those on your panel calling it racist. There's nothing racist about that. It's called patriotism.
Yeah, and I would say,
people who come here have to recognise that they are moving to a British country.
Okay, let me bring in Kahinde. Yeah, let me bring in. Hang on, let me bring in Kahinde. Let me bring in Kahinde.
What's up, Laurie?
Check, I'll come back to you. I'll come back to Check. I want to bring in Kahinde Andrews there. You know, I've travelled a lot to the Middle East. I've been to Saudi Arabia a few times in the last year, to Qatar several times, to Dubai and other places. One thing's for sure, if anyone trying to go over there and instill their culture and their cultural values or their laws in a country like that, they would be very quickly dealt with. And I think what people feel here is, you know, for example, does it concern you that there are estimated to be 85 Sharia councils in the UK that manage disputes between Muslims and ensure Islamic law is being upheld? Now, they have no legal force under UK law,
The countries
but they have a
you
lot of
just
influence.
mentioned
But they have a lot
are
of
covered by US
influence.
military bases.
Here's my question for this is for Kehinde. This is for Kehinde. Hang on, Loki. Kehinde, Loki, I'll come back to you. Everyone must get a chance to speak. So Kehinde, my question is, should we tolerate that? If we genuinely believe in having an inclusive, multicultural society, is it right that we tolerate, as many people feel very uncomfortable about it, should we tolerate the existence of Sharia councils?
I think the question misses a massive point. How can the UK, the largest empire in history, remember, talk about going to other countries and instilling your values? I mean, it's completely ridiculous, completely nonsensical. British expats are probably the worst going to places and colonizing them and expect them to be exactly
Just to be 100%.
Let him finish his point, please.
Let me finish what I'm saying.
Let him finish his point.
Secondly, the idea that there's a minority, Muslims are a minority in this country, and they're in particular areas, and because of white flight, like I said, this is why we tend to be congregated in the same area. What does multiculturalism say? It just says that you should respect people's cultures and values. As you said, there are 85 Sharia councils. They have no basis in law. So if a group wants to come together and say, actually, can we manage things internally? That is fine as long as they're not breaking the law. And there's no evidence that any of these Sharia councils are breaking the law. It's a confected, made-up nonsense that the idea that Muslims are incompatible with the West. This goes back thousands of years, by the way, and it is a deeply racist idea that somehow suggests that Muslims are incompatible. And if the issue actually was about segregation,
why don't you listen to the nuance of an argument? I am Muslim myself.
Exactly.
I'm Muslim myself. There's no nuance in your argument.
And I've just heard you say, look, there are bad Muslims. There are bad people who are Muslim. There are bad people who are Christian.
And it's got nothing to do with religion. Of course there are.
The idea that you would be then saying, well, let's stop. How could a Muslim straightforwardly actually come on and say, we don't need laws against Islamophobia, and we know that Islamophobia is a huge problem with hate crimes, etc., etc., etc. That's nonsensical. And like,
hate crime already. You just said it. There is legislation against.
And that's the question. We make all this issue about Muslim areas. They don't exist, like I said. They're actually very diverse. If it's actually about segregation and about one group of people living together in the UK, the only group of people that is white middle-class people who do it all the time. They separate themselves off. They go to the best colleges. They go to the best schools. They live in the top. Why isn't it a problem when we have so many parts of this country which are isolated with white middle-class people?
I'm sorry, Piers, I have to go.
Why is that not a problem? Why is somehow Muslims a problem? Why would I ask?
I'm not going to sit here and argue with this guy who has no idea what he's talking about. I'm Muslim. I know millions of Muslims like me, and we do not like radical Muslims coming in here and giving us
of your party is
then
in
maybe he should go and visit some towns. But I've got to go.
Nick Candy is in the Epstein files. Did he know Ghislaine Maxwell? What's your response?
And has he done any wrongdoing? And
what's your response?
And has he done any wrongdoing by being here?
The question is open.
You met him for a business deal.
Right.
We're not talking about, we're not talking about Nick Candy. We're talking about immigration. How is that related?
Of
You
course,
cannot argue this argument.
point.
So you're picking on random stuff that have no relevance. I got to go. Bye, Piers.
That's
Sorry,
exactly
we have a
what
rally.
you're doing. Oh, no, you can't be forced to debate. No, you have to run away. This has not been pure Israeli propaganda. I gotta run. Can I solve it? Can I solve it?
You guys, it has been, it's unbelievable the answers you guys have been giving, because it's just been all deflection every single time. But what about Epstein? What about Nick Candy?
That's exactly what this entire story is.
Listen, but Cenk, I'm a Jew, right? And I've already sat here and I can say there are huge problems that I find in the Hasidic Jewish community. Why can't you guys, when we talk about the grooming gangs, when we talk about Islamism, not just in the UK, the way it's spread across the Middle East and Europe, the things that are going on in Iran right now, and I haven't seen one tiny morsel of, you know what, there are some bad issues here. Every single moment has been deflection, so no wonder Layla's gone. She can't be bothered talking to people with an IQ of about 7.
IQ of this desk.
Oh yeah, I know. You guys are super smart.
Or talk about something other than Epstein then, because you're being asked about grooming gangs.
All right, hold on.
Something
Let me solve it. Let me address it.
Okay, so can you address it, Cenk? Before you do, let me just ask you, can you address it?
Can you shut up and let me address it?
Can you address it without mentioning Israel? Or can you address grooming gangs?
No, because that's the whole reason we're having this conversation.
Brilliant.
Because your Israeli buddies wanted a distraction from the Epstein files That's why they threw this garbage into the media. So now let me
Piers just explained to you.
Piers
just explained to you that that's been going on for 30 years.
Shut up and let me address it. You're asking me a question and I'll answer it. You're asking me a question and I'll answer it. This is super easy. Why don't you arrest everyone who's committed a crime? So if Pakistani grooming gangs exist, and I'm sure they do, then arrest them. Where's the question?
Yeah, but they didn't.
If there's
They
a gang
didn't
of white
arrest them,
people,
did they?
shut up and let me finish. If there's people, shut up and let me finish. So if there's a white gang of people who are raping people, arrest them. If there's a bunch of super powerful people who are raping American girls, arrest them. This is all super simple. But when we go to arrest anyone, demand to arrest anyone in the Epstein files, they go, oh, the Muslims, the raping, it's the Muslims, it's all the Muslims. Everybody hates the Muslims. Yeah. It's an obvious diversion. That's why we're bringing up Israel and the Epstein files, because in the midst of the biggest story that there has been, maybe in my lifetime, all of a sudden, the grooming gangs pop back up. You want me to condemn them? Super easy. I condemn them. I condemn them 200%. I hope they're in prison. I hope they never get out of prison. But that's not the issue. You're not bringing it up because you're concerned about victims. You're bringing it up so you can say the dirty Muslims did it. Now, let me explain something to you, okay? If we had the same exact conversation, but you took out the word Muslim and you put in the word Jewish or Jew, and we had a whole debate about should we ban the Jews? Are the Jews a problem in the UK? Do the Jews have the wrong kind of culture? We would all be canceled. We'd all have our careers ruined. None of us would ever work in media again. But here we are having a conversation of, is the problem the Muslims? And should we ban the Muslims? And the Muslims have the wrong culture. And the minute you ask, hey, wait a minute,
and you're doing fine.
These guys have literally bought our government. They've contributed bribe 94% of Congress, and you're telling me that the pro-Israel forces don't have any power. The real problem is Muslims who have like almost no money or no power in the UK, Europe, or in America. So this is a joke. This whole conversation is propaganda by Israel to distract you from the Epstein files.
Okay. Andrew, I want to hear Andrew's. I want to hear Andrew's response to that, please, Andrew.
Well, it's just absolutely nuts. You've been going on for half an hour there just about, you can't say anything about the Jews or whatever. If there were 5 million Jews in the UK, now there's actually about 200,000. If there were 5 or 6 million Jews in the UK, if there was a kind of a grooming gang thing involved with the Jews, I would be the first person, and most Jews would be as well. The idea that also, that there's this idea of Muslims
are the poorest Muslims,
this reverse racism that you're doing the whole time, right? There are 2 billion Muslims worldwide. They are in some of the richest countries in the world, and they are some of the most powerful people in the world. Qatari influence, you might say about Israel, I don't know. Maybe you're right, because I can admit that people who are more on my side might be doing nefarious things. I don't know. You seem to have a total blind spot about Muslim power in the world. There's all of these, the Church of England, all of these different organizations, these religious organizations, have different kinds of power that they assert in the world, okay? And we need to look at all of them. I am happy to look at any Jewish ones. I'm happy to look at all the other ones. The fact is there is huge Qatari influence in American universities and British universities, and you don't want to know this. And you keep portraying Muslims as these impoverished little
I don't want that.
There are many impoverished Muslims, there are many wealthy Muslims. Andrew, you've defended Israel relentlessly over the genocide in Gaza. That has consisted of sexual crime at insane levels, the raping of Palestinian hostages in Israeli military camps. So that's not true. Okay, so you don't actually do what you say you do, which is you call out everyone. But you're a conspiracy theorist. But you're a conspiracy, so I don't know what to do with all of these conspiracies.
You are
all of your arguments. All of your arguments that this person is linked to that person.
In this conversation, aside from your feelings, what have you cited? Give me some documents. Why not read Dr. Ella Cobain and what she's written about these lies around quote-unquote grooming gangs, which is not even a criminal category that has... Look at who the majority of people...
What is he talking about?
Dr. Ella Cobain. Read her writings and understand these things rather than working from the space of
grooming gangs are not a criminal category?
It's not a criminal category. It is not a criminal category.
Eureka.
This is raping young girls. It's not a criminal category.
Well, hang on a second. Can I just point
It's
out
not a criminal category. People are not prosecuted on the basis of grooming gangs. That's a media term which was used to promote this Islamophobic idea of the world.
Sorry, I can't let that go. Sorry, just to be clear, the grooming gangs was a criminal activity involving a large number of predominant. Loki.
Obviously, it's a criminal activity.
The rape and abuse of thousands of young, largely white English girls by a group of largely British, Pakistani Muslim men in places like Rotherham and Telford was absolutely a criminal activity, which is why all the perpetrators have now been put in prison.
I didn't say there wasn't a criminal activity, Piers. Listen to what I'm saying and then interpret it. I am saying that by law, a criminal category does not exist for the crime of grooming gangs. Read Dr. Ella Cobain's writing.
Well, that's the label given to the people who are perpetrating it in gangs.
For particular reasons.
All right. Well, let's just call it. All right. Let's call it a bunch of. Let's call it a bunch of sex abusing rapists.
Which is child sexual exploitation, which is the term that experts use. Read what experts have to say, not podcasters shouting loudly on YouTube.
You know what? Loki, look. Hang on, please. The bottom line with grooming gangs as a label is it was entirely accurate. You had gangs of people, largely British Pakistani men, Muslim men, who were grooming young white English girls to abuse them. That was what was happening. It was covered up. It was a national disgrace. It remains a national disgrace. And you trying to explain that grooming gangs is not a criminal activity is, I'm afraid, disingenuous bullshit.
It's a category. I'm going to leave it there. We haven't spoken about the fact that you reported me to the Metropolitan Police.
I appreciate,
You reported me to the Metropolitan Police.
They were grooming gangs and they're part of the criminal activity. I've got to leave it there. We've run out of time. Okay, we've run out of time. Guys, thank you all very much. Well, joining me now is Dr. Gad Saad. He's a scholar at the Declaration of Independence Center for the Study of American Freedom at the University of Mississippi and the author of forthcoming book, Suicidal Empathy. Gad, great to have you back on Uncensored.
Thank you so much for having me, Piers.
Look, this is obviously, as we've just heard, a very emotive issue. It's a complex issue. It's a multifaceted issue. You know, there's no doubt there is an interesting comparison to be made about sheer volumes, for example, of Muslims in the UK and US. It's about the same number, around 4 to 5 million, but the US is 6-7 times as big as the UK. So clearly we have a lot more Muslims in the UK. We have a tiny fraction of America's Jewish population. I think America has 7-8 million, I think it is. In America, we have about 250,000. So they're right there, just statistically, we have a very different setup in terms of Muslim and Jewish populations of our respective countries. But in terms of this whole debate, fueled a lot by people on the conservative right in America, that Britain has been invaded by radical Muslims. Megyn Kelly used that phrase last week with me. And we've lost control to radical Muslims. I just see no evidence that that is remotely true. That's not to say I don't think there have been big issues with the huge influx of immigrants to the UK in the last 25 years. That is indisputable. It's gone way too far. We lost control of our general immigration policy. But that doesn't mean we've lost control of the country to radical Muslims, in my estimation.
Look, if you take any disease, say diabetes, when you're first diagnosed with it, we're not going to amputate your leg tomorrow. But we know that there is a trajectory whereby we can predict that within a certain time period, things will go wrong if you don't resolve your insulin issues, right? So it is absolutely true, you're right, that today Britain remains a non-Muslim country. But if we continue along the same patterns, will it improve or will it worsen if the current immigration policies remain the same? And let me draw an analogy. There are currently 56 countries that are part of the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Each of those countries, once upon a time, started with 0 Muslims. Then you close your eyes and you open your eyes, and in many of those countries, you have 0% non-Muslims. So for example, Egypt used to be a largely Coptic country, Coptic Christian. Today it's 10% Copts. My own country, within my own lifetime, used to be majority Christian country. Today it's majority Muslim country. So it's not as though everywhere that Islam goes, they just engage in an orgiastic killing of everybody.
Hit
but
the like
in one
button.
way or another, once Islam enters, the goal is for you to Islamize the society. And it doesn't take a fancy professor to understand those historical patterns.
It's interesting what you say. I would
What's
argue
up, Cal?
back to that the vast majority of Muslims that I know in the UK are very happy to be part of a multicultural Britain in which they assimilate quite happily with their neighbours of all types, of all creeds and races and religions and so on. I just don't see this hotbed of radicalism. Now, I would caveat that by saying that most of the terrorism in the UK in this century, for example, has been perpetrated by radical Islamists. That is indisputable. But it's been sporadic, and I think that's important to stress. It's not something that's happening like it was with the IRA, for example, in the 70s and 80s on a regular basis. It's happening sporadically. So there are.
Them Girl Scout cookies should be coming around any day now, Carlos. I don't know why. I want some of them. From them cookies called.
In an influx of some radical Islamists who perpetrate bad things. That's indisputable. But that doesn't mean we're a country under the control of radical Islam.
So I think I might have mentioned this stat last time, but let me mention it again, and then I'll draw another analogy too in pathology, in pathogen studies. There have been, this is a lower estimate, there are other databases that place what I'm about to say at a much higher number. 9/11 alone, there have been nearly 48,000 Islamic terror attacks in 70 countries, right? 48,000. If you take all of the other 10,000 religions combined, it doesn't add up to the number of fingers that I have on my 2 fingers. So the fact that you and I could fully agree
I need me a
that
box.
there are millions of Muslims who don't do this doesn't negate the fact that if you allow Islam to take a foothold in a place, we know what the outcome will be. So now I'm going to draw the analogy that I promised earlier. The shingles virus is something that you and I, given that we're roughly the same age, is something that we should be concerned about. It lays dormant in you for 20, 30, 40 years, and then there is a catalyst that then can trigger the shingles virus, and it results in a very uncomfortable situation for you, even though it lay dormant in you for 40 years.
Lord.
So when Islam is only 1% of the population, or 2 or 3, they don't yet have the numbers to be able to do the things that would otherwise worry you. But once they become 20%, 30%, 40%, then we can exactly predict the trajectory as we would diabetes. So again, you have to have the imagination to extrapolate into the future, and then hopefully, inshallah, will come to you.
But there'll be lots of people who hear you, compare Islam to a disease, who will find that incredibly offensive. And there'll be many millions of Muslims in the UK, because statistically, the absolutely vast majority of Muslims in the UK do not commit radical acts of terrorism. So 99% at least are living in peaceful harmony and not engaging in this. And in fact, a tiny fraction of British Pakistani Muslim men, for example, were engaged in the grooming gangs, albeit their behaviour was disgusting and reprehensible, and the cover-up was just as bad. So my point being that, as I read out earlier to the panel, the vast majority of sex attacks in the UK are still perpetrated by white men, for example, right? So, statistics can be twisted any way people want, but this categorization of Islam as a disease in a country like the UK, I just don't sense that.
Of course, by the way, I don't know if you're doing this willfully or not, I'm not categorizing Islam as a disease, I'm drawing an analogy. The definition of an analogy is to draw exactly a comparative mechanism of how things might proliferate. So I'm not saying Islam...
Yeah, but you were directly... Hang on, Gag, let's not be disingenuous. You were directly comparing it to the impact of having a disease that spreads.
Saying is that the phenomenon, whatever it may be, may lie dormant until there is a tipping point that serves as a catalyst. So if you don't like me comparing it to Islam, if we were to have millions and millions of Orthodox Jews that come into an area, there will be a number when the likelihood of teaching evolution in the schools where there are tons of Orthodox Jews would reduce because they don't believe in the theory of evolution. So in this case, I'm not arguing that Jews are a disease. I'm drawing an analogy. But let me come back to the point of, but most Muslims are lovely. Most men do not commit rape. We can agree on that. And certainly the statistics would be no different than saying most Muslims don't commit terrorism. But if you and I have a daughter, and that daughter is about to cross a dark alley where there are a few men that are loitering, would we tell her, sweetie, statistically, most men are not going to be rapists. So even though you're wearing that really alluring miniskirt, don't worry about it because it's only a very small number that will commit rape, right? We wouldn't say that to them. Or let me give you another analogy. You and I have had young children.
The analogy I would use, yeah, but Gad, hang on. Gad, sure. My response to that would be that, statistically, 83% chance that you'll be attacked by a white man, right? So if you want to get into numbers and probability,
I thought he just said me.
I have a daughter. I would not want my daughter to walk across a park late at night, but actually, statistically, she's far more likely to be attacked by a white man. That is just a reality in the UK. That's why. Right. Well, that's the statistical reality. So the framing of this debate, when people try and say, well, look, you've been invaded and overrun by radical Muslims. They all hate women. Therefore, it's become a very dangerous place for women because of radical Muslims. I simply throw back statistics, which is 83% of serious crime in the UK remains perpetrated today by white men.
96% of Scotland is white. Therefore, obviously, most of the rapes that are committed in Scotland are going to be committed by white men. It's this little thing called per capita adjustment, right? I want to draw another analogy for you because you didn't like the rape one. When you and I were raising our children and had to look for a babysitter, did we typically go and look for 35-year-old men as babysitters, or did we look for a 15-year-old teenage girl? Because we recognize that statistically speaking, 15-year-old girls are much less likely to molest children than 35-year-old boys, men. Now, that doesn't take away from the fact that it is exactly true that most 35-year-old men will never molest. But life is about navigating statistical regularities. The one who understands those regularities comes out on the other side without being raped. The one who lives in unicornia will wake up one day while he's being put down on the floor being gang raped. So statistics matter. Most Muslims are perfectly lovely. Islam is not necessarily congruent with Western values. Those two statements are perfectly consistent with each other.
Except I would come back to this. Statistically, there are, I think, nearly 5 million Muslims living in the UK, a population of 67 million. And there was an absurd response last week. Megyn Kelly, after our interview blew up, posted to me on X that the most popular boy's name in the country last year was Muhammad, right? And this was immediately seen as
what country?
Overrun by radical Muslims. Well, having the name Muhammad does not make you a radical Muslim, one.
Right.
Secondly, it is very, very, as everybody knows who's got half a brain, it is very common for Muslim men to include the name Muhammad in the name of their sons, right? It's a very common thing. It's not as common for white guys like me to choose the same name for all our sons, right? So Noah was the second most popular, which is a popular Jewish name, for example. People happens to be in vogue. I think it's the most popular name in the US at the moment is Noah. It wouldn't be most popular in the UK because of Jews, because there are so few Jews. However, it's not surprising to me that Muhammad tops the list of boys' names simply because so many Muslim families like to call their sons Muhammad, right? So these statistics get seized on and twisted to create a false narrative that because the most popular boy's name in the country is Muhammad, even though the numbers are pretty low, that means we're being overrun by radical Muslims. I just find that a ludicrous, ridiculous, journey to go on intellectually, because it makes no sense to me.
Can I take another shot at, navigating through statistics? Okay, if I told you today that there is millions of guys named Moshe that are moving into Brighton, would that increase or decrease the likelihood of there being a greater preponderance of kosher places? All other things equal, you would argue there'd be an increase, because since we have brains that engage in causal reasoning, I would say since Moshe is a prototypical Jewish name, and since many Jews wish to adhere to kosher laws, I can undoubtedly, unequivocally, unassailably say that if there are more Moshes in Brighton, there's more likely to be pressure to have kosher food. But there'll be other Moshes that completely decide to eat a shrimp soup, right? So I am Jewish, I'm very much steeped in my Jewish heritage, and yet I eat bacon. It's not because I practice a more gentle form of Judaism, it's because I choose to ignore those parts that don't adhere to my daily lives. So most Muslims are lovely because they are innately lovely. They are nice Jews and mean Jews. We're talking about Islam. Islam consists of a set of codified doctrines that are consistent with the foundational Western values. If the answer to that, Piers, is yes, then we should quickly accelerate Islamic immigration because we're going to be enriched. If the answer is perhaps no, then maybe you need to put on your statistical reasoning hat.
Well, my statistical reasoning hat says, how much inter-religious warfare do we see on the streets of my country? Elon Musk, I know someone you know well, constantly fuels this sense of there's going to be an imminent civil war because of the Muslim problem. But I see a lot of Hindus over here. I see a lot of Muslims. I see a lot of Christians. I see all sorts of different people of different colours, creeds, religions, and so on. And I don't see warfare everywhere. I don't see civil war erupting everywhere. I don't recognise the kind of depiction of my country which Elon has, and he's a guy who's barely set foot in my country, right, as far as I'm aware in the last few decades. So I don't know what he's basing it on, other than this is a narrative that's been fueled and picked up by a lot of people in America. And I say to Elon, Elon's not even American himself, right? He's an immigrant to the United States. There are 5 million Muslims in the US, most of whom live perfectly happily and peacefully amongst the communities they live in. There's no Muslim problem in the US. There's a Muslim radical terrorist extremist problem of terrorists coming into the country or perpetrating acts of terrorism against Americans around the world, yes. And that's why there's been fights against Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and other terror groups. But to somehow then say, well, then all 5 million Muslim Americans must be...
All right, Chad, we're going to stop it right there, man. We finna get up out of here. I got to get some rest, man. I'm tired as hell. I'm about to fall asleep on y'all. We stayed up pretty late last night in the Discord, but what I will do for y'all, the people who are up, I'll drop a new series for y'all right now, man. We're going to do the Discord Wars series, so I'm going to post a clip from our Discord debates. I got quite a few of them lined up, and yeah, I guess I'll post one of those so y'all can hang out for, another 20-30 minutes and watch, a debate like we would normally do. But yeah, chat, let me go over here right now. Let me go right here right now and put this debate up for y'all. I think I'm going to schedule it. Can I schedule it? Yeah, I'm going to schedule it for the morning, this one right here. And I'm going to drop a preview for y'all right now. Boom, we'll drop this preview right now. Boom. Alright, chat, I'll see y'all over there, man. Y'all head over to the premiere. It's